Biblical billionaire Joseph brokered one of the biggest government bids, benefiting over 5 million people and building a billion-dollar legacy, not just for Pharaoh or for Egypt, but for his bloodline. I find it interesting that God always positions his people in places of power to be prominent, prosperous, and to set the precedents on what is right and acceptable. The common thread always leads to wealth for God's people. The blueprint found within Genesis is not only historical, but it is duplicatable. I am living proof that simply striving for these solutions will help you to bear fruit, but also billionaires all across the globe build their empires boldly by applying these skills, whether they believe the Bible or not, and they bask in the benefits, and you should too. So today we're going to do a fast and focused 60-second flashback on Joseph's life, for those of you who may not be familiar with the story. Then we'll distill his journey from felon to Pharaoh's favorite figure, which brings us to the J.O.S.E.P.H method. Yes, we have coined Joseph's method because it is the best way to grow and scale your business. If you remember the acronym J.O.S.E.P.H, J-O-S-E-P-H, you will be in good hands, with H being the most critical step. It will help captivate you. It completely blew me away. And we'll crack on how Joseph channeled another 10 billion out of the worldwide economy. So if you comprehend just one core point, it will catapult you and your company to another level. So let's get on into it. Joseph, he was a prophet. He was gifted not only with the ability to dream, but also to interpret dreams as well. Joseph was favored by his father and was gifted a coat of many colors, which fueled his brother's jealousy. And after dreaming of greatness, he was betrayed and sold into slavery by his brothers and ended up serving Potiphar in Egypt. There, he rose in rank and he was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison, setting the stage for his ultimate rise to power. Now, while in prison, Joseph interprets dreams for Pharaoh's cupbearer and his baker, predicting their fate. One was able to go back to his life as usual, which was the cupbearer, and the baker unfortunately did not live, and Joseph was able to predict that as well. And he told the cupbearer when he went back to his life, he said, "Remember me." And Pharaoh, a couple of years later, had a troubling dream. And the cupbearer finally remembered Joseph, and he said Joseph knows how to interpret dreams. Joseph was brought before the king. The king described his dream to him. He had two separate dreams. Joseph interpreted the dream as follows. He said, "God is the ultimate interpreter of dreams. If you give me the dream, God will give me the interpretation." So let me be very clear. Let me give God all the glory and all the praise on this one. In essence, Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dream, predicting that there will be 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Pharaoh makes Joseph second in command over Egypt to prepare for the famine. Now, fast forwarding throughout the famine, Joseph reconnects with his brothers. He forgives them after testing them, and it's a whole kumbaya story from here. Now, of course, we all know the Bible just keeps going and keeps going, but for our purposes for today, this is where we will stop. Now, here's the breakdown of the key steps that Joseph took. It's almost like, how did Joseph get, and I know a lot of people are gonna say, well, Alison, Joseph had this ability. Listen to me. You have abilities as well. One of the first things I want you to do is I want you to justify your expertise. See, Joseph had a unique ability, which was interpreting dreams. And each and one of every single you has a specific reason why you were created in the first place. And you will be better at that thing than anyone else anywhere around you. His IP, his intellectual property, became his differentiator, and his reputation preceded him. Even if you don't know what your dream is, or you don't understand what your differentiator is, notice how Joseph had a differentiator, okay? His reputation preceded him. Pharaoh heard about his skills through the cupbearer. Keep this in mind. Mastery makes you memorable, but relationships make you remarkable. You can have all the best dreams and ideas, and you could know what your gift is, and you're fully pouring that out, but you can be pouring it out in your closet or pouring it out in your basement. But if you don't start the process of sharing that gift with others, your reputation will not have an opportunity to allow you to become remarkable. Position yourself as the subject matter experts. Test your product. Look at what Joseph did. He took his skill sets and he shared it with those who weren't able to pay him back. Build relationships that validate your reputation. And notice this, in the beginning, he gave away his gifts for free. It is better to give than to receive. Now, we're going to move to Joseph. When coming before Pharaoh, he asked him for the dream. What did he ask him to do? To outline the problem. He wanted to get an understanding of what the government's needs were. See, Pharaoh had a problem. He was troubled by the dreams, and no one was capable and able to interpret it. Now, Egypt faced an impending crisis. As a result, from what came about, right? The government put their problem in the form of a bid. I hope you guys are catching this, okay? He put his problem out there in form of a bid, and the bid said this: you will have 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. But Pharaoh and his advisors didn't have a solution. So in this case, what Joseph was able to do is analyze the pain point and upcoming challenges. He said, this is what's going to happen, and he said, this is what you're going to need. You want to align your expertise with the government's most urgent needs, which will lead you into S, J.O.S. All right. S stands for submit a solution. See, proposal submission, delivering a unique data-backed solution. Joseph didn't interpret the dream. He provided a full strategy. He forecasted, he accurately predicted the economic cycle. All right. 7 years of abundance followed by 7 years of famine. And I'm going to even say this, even in our government today, for those of us who have been in business for a while, this is actually not bad information to adhere to. All right. Every 7 years, usually something happens major in life that's going to impact you and impact your business. And what did Joseph recommend in his proposal submittal? He proposed a 20% tax on grain during the plentiful years to create a surplus. See, he believed in risk mitigation. He devised a distribution system to prevent starvation during the famine. Now, the word says this in Proverbs 22, it says, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. When you are diligent in your business, you understand the problems of your business and you know how to resolve them. Joseph was diligent in his younger years when taking care of his father's land, and that's why his reputation was able to precede him. But even furthermore, when he found himself in circumstances that were not ideal, it allowed him to still come forward with a sense of he had his backing, right? He had a stable understanding that he was one that was trusted within the prison system. That played a major role in allowing him to be trusted in the eyes of Pharaoh. You want to provide a comprehensive data-backed plan, offer a strategy with forecasting, risk mitigation, and execution, which is what Joseph provided. And Joseph said, he didn't say pick me. He said, you're going to want a man that's going to understand the logistics. You're going to want someone who understands the coming in, the going out, how we're going to deliver this, where we're going to put the food, how we're going to dry it out so that we can store it long term. And of course, he positioned himself perfectly to be the purpose of choice, which leads us into E. Establish your competitive edge. Know your competitive advantage. See, no one else could offer his solution. Unlike Pharaoh's magicians and advisors, Joseph brought a clear, actionable strategy. His solution was practical, it was measurable, and it was designed for execution. I want you to present a solution that no one else is offering. I want you to present or showcase measurable, high impact results. And that, my friends, is how you're going to position yourself and your business to win big bids. Now, for those of you who are interested, we run Win Big Bid Challenge every month, and we teach entrepreneurs how to win big government bids. Moving on, P. Notice what Joseph did. He used persuasion and positioning through strategic negotiations. See, he secured the contract, right? Instead of just giving Pharaoh the interpretation that he asked for, Joseph subtly positioned himself as the best candidate to execute the plan. He says this in Genesis chapter 41. He says, let Pharaoh find a discerning and wise man and put him in charge of the land of Egypt. See, he knew, he didn't say, pick me, right? He said, this is what you're going to need. These are all of the characteristics that you're going to need in the person. This is the job description that you're going to need to submit in order to have or allow for this person to run this. This is going to take someone's full focus to be in charge of. This was classic positioning. This was a classic positioning move. He presented the need for leadership and let Pharaoh conclude that Joseph was the right man for the job. This is like reverse psychology, all right? He guided Pharaoh, the decision maker, to see himself as the ideal candidate. See, too often we think that we have to tell people we are the one for the job. No, you tell them what the problem is. You lay out the best way to execute the work. And you say, look, you're going to need someone wise. You're going to need someone that understands logistics. But when you demonstrate confidence and you demonstrate leadership, you are leading the pharaohs of these world, the governors, the mayors, anyone that you are working with, you are leading them to the conclusion that, of course, you are the only solution to resolve this issue. And here we go. This one is one of my favorites. H, handle execution and deliver a long-term impact. We're getting into execution and contract management. See, implementing the plan successfully. Joseph immediately got to work. He built infrastructure. He oversaw the collection of storage grain. He managed the logistics. He ensured food distribution during the famine. He monetized the surplus. Not only did he feed Egypt, but he also fed neighboring nations, increasing Egypt's wealth. Joseph's contract execution was so successful that he essentially became the CEO of Egypt. His strategy solidified Egypt's economic and political dominance, proving the value of strong government and resource management. Now, I know you're like, Alison, what is so exciting about that? I have to take you to Genesis chapter 47, verses 11 through 27, so that you can see what I see. And in going to Genesis chapter 47, verses 11, it reads this. This is so powerful, so powerful. So Joseph settled his father and his brothers. Remember what I mentioned before, his brothers came back in Egypt and gave them property in the best part of the land. So that means Joseph had some money. The district of Ramses as Pharaoh directed. So he got the best part of the land. Now, Joseph also provided his father and his brothers and all his father's household with food according to the number of their children. Now, here it goes. Verse 13. There was no food, however, in the whole region because the famine was severe. Both Egypt and Canaan wasted away because of the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan in payment for the grain they were buying, and he brought it to Pharaoh's palace. Now, when the money of the people of Egypt and Canaan was all gone, all Egypt came to Joseph and said, "Give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is all gone." Listen, if you're not catching this in 2025, the money is failing. Are you catching that? The United States dollar is failing. How do I know this? Because just a couple of years ago, eggs were half the price than what they are now. There's going to come a time where money is not going to have any value. But I want you to pay attention to verse 16. Then bring your livestock, said Joseph. I will sell you food in exchange for your livestock, since your money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and he gave them food in exchange for their horses, their sheep, their goats, their cattle, their donkeys, and he brought them through that year with food in exchange for all their livestock. Verse 18. When that year was over, they came to him the following year and said, "We cannot hide from our Lord the fact that since our money is all gone and our livestock are all gone." Are you catching this? You need to catch this, okay? All their money is gone and all their livestock is gone. So what is the next solution? He says, our money is gone and our livestock belongs to you. There is nothing left for our Lord except our bodies and our land. Why should we perish before your eyes? We and our land as well. Are you catching the wealth tips here? Buy us and our land in exchange for food, and we with our land will be in bondage to Pharaoh. Give us seed so that we may live and not die, and that our land may not become desolate. So Joseph bought all the land in Egypt for Pharaoh. The Egyptians, one and all, sold their fields because the famine was so severe for them. The land became Pharaoh, and Joseph reduced the people to servitude from one end of Egypt to the other. However, he did not buy the land of the priests because they were received in regular allotment from Pharaoh and had food enough for the allotment Pharaoh gave them. Okay, I want you to pick up on something. This was mind-blowing when I saw it, and I don't know if you're catching it. Notice the last thing that the people of Egypt and their surrounding nations were willing to give up was their time for money. Is that settling with you? How often are we who claim that we are in business, or even those of us who work for a corporation, we give up our time for money by the first opportunity? That's the first thing that we do, is give up time for money. But notice what these people had. They had land, they had livestock. They were willing to give up other things first. And the last thing that they were willing to give up was servitude, was their time for money. I hope you understand that if you work this backwards, you'll understand what the playbook is for wealth. See, when you obtain government contracts, when you obtain wealth, the first thing that you should be doing with your wealth is identifying opportunities to procure more assets. These people had assets. So many of us today in the United States and abroad have been told to sell our time for money. And in the interim, we don't put aside any of our resources to procure assets. We technically are poorer than these people were back in the biblical times because they had more to give up. So if you work this backwards based on this wealth concept or ideology, what I hope that you're extracting from this is you procure wealth. In procuring money, the money will fail at some point in time. You procure assets, and guess what? Assets are going up in value, right? The people that are proclaiming wealth in 2025 are those that have assets, and the people that are getting poorer are those that don't have any assets. They sell their time for failed money. I hope you caught that. I hope you caught that. I hope it hit you like it hit me. But look at what Joseph was able to do for his father. I want you to hold true to the proverb. In Proverbs 13, verse 22, it says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous." Come on now. Listen, all of the wealth of the land belonged to Pharaoh. It belonged to Egypt. And Joseph was wealthy, well beyond what you ever could have thought. But there you have it. That's the J.O.S.E.P.H method. The key takeaways for modern government contractors. Joseph's story highlights essential principles for securing government contracts today. J, justify your expertise. O, observe and identify the problem. S, submit a winning solution. E, establish a competitive edge. P, persuade and position yourself as the best choice. And H, handle, execution, and deliver long-term impact. Joseph didn't just win a government contract. He leveraged his expertise to become the most powerful man in Egypt. See, that's the ultimate government contracting playbook. Till next time, this is Alison Etinoff. Go win and win big.